Hey guys, it's Viva. So today I'm going to do a July wrap-up. Right, so one thing you should probably know about me is that I read a lot of ebooks because I'm kind of lazy and I don't carry a bag big enough to carry a book in it. So I just read a lot of books on my phone because you can literally do that anywhere. So yes, let's get started with my wrap-up. The first book that I read in July was Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins. Oh my god. At first I thought this was going to be a really cliched, predictable love story, but the more I read the book, the more I just fell in love with the characters and the plot. Like, Stephanie Perkins just writes it so well. I still knew what was going to happen at the end, but the plot twists and the way that she's just written the story to make it so gripping is just, amazing. So the book follows Anna, who is an American girl sent to France to study in a school in Paris. She loves films and wants to be a film critic when she's older, and it's basically written in Anna's point of view in a slightly awkward but really realistic manner. And she has a love interest back at home called Christopher, or Toff, but she's not entirely sure about her feelings for him when she meets this gorgeous boy called Sinclair. Sinclair unfortunately does have a girlfriend that he's been quite serious with for quite a while. Now, Sinclair is born in the United States, raised in England, and then goes to school in Paris. So he is very cultured, and the best part about him is he has a British accent, and American girls for some reason just fall for the British accent. I'm not entirely sure why. Our accent isn't that great, but there we go. Just one of those things. The only probably downside to Sinclair is his height. He's supposed to be very short, but, you know, still that doesn't stop him from being charming and having a lot of girls crush on him. He is supposed to be very beautiful, and I instantly fell in love with him. It's okay, so this book is basically just about how Sinclair and Anna deal with their own issues and come to terms with what they actually want. And yes, it's just written so beautifully, and yes, definitely worth the read. I would give it a 5 out of 5, definitely. The second book that I read was Lola and the Boy Next Door, again by Stephanie Perkins. So after reading Anna and the French Kiss, I had to read the next book in this companionship trilogy. So this story features a girl called Lola, who's an extremely unique character. She wants to be a costume designer when she's older, and she designs her own costumes and dresses up differently every day. She wears wigs and crazy jewellery, and, you know, is just so comfortable in herself that it's brilliant. She had something with Cricket, who was her neighbour, who then moved away for his sister's career in figure skating. So he moves back, and she is very confused with her feelings for him, as she has a boyfriend, Max, who is 5 years older than her, and you know, is her image of a cool person. But then Cricket walks back into her life in his gorgeously long pinstripe trousered legs, and this book is basically just about how she comes to terms with what she really wants in her life rather than what you know, other people want from her. Cricket is my favourite out of the 3 boys in this trilogy. He is geeky and just amazing. The way that he dresses up as well, it just sounds so unique, and he is an inventor. He creates these magical things. Yes, so basically if there is a Cricket anywhere in this world, I would like to find him, yes. Oh, and also a really amazing part of this book is that characters from Anna and the French Kiss are featured in it, and that made me really excited because it's just, I just love the way how they're all interlinked, and yeah, Stephanie Perkins does a really good job. Okay, again, I would give this book a 5 out of 5, definitely. The next book that I read was End of Days by Susan E. I took a break from the Anna and the French Kiss series because I didn't want to be reading on my phone while I was on holiday, so I decided to take this book. I was so excited to read this. For those of you who don't know, this is the last book in the trilogy, the Penguin and the End of Days trilogy. So if you haven't read the first book, which is Angel Fall, it is basically about an angel apocalypse in which this main character called Penguin sets out on a mission to save her younger sister who was taken by some angels. She's accompanied by this angel who has lost his wings and is going back to look for them. So Penryn and Raffi, who is the angel, they pair up and they go on this great adventure. So I won't spoil anything, but you should definitely give that a read if you haven't already. In The End of Days, Raffi and Penryn are running from some angels and are looking for a doctor to reattach Raffi's wings. And there's a lot of action in this book, and there's a lot of humorous bits as well, which I really like. Susan E. is definitely one of my favourite authors. The entire trilogy is probably one of my favourite trilogies of all times. It's just so well written and gripping. You really cannot put this book down. But yes, I would definitely recommend this book to those of you who haven't read it already, and again I would give this a 5 out of 5. You can see a recurring theme here. So the fourth book that I read was Isla and the Happily Ever After, which is the final book in Stephanie Perkins' companionship novels. This, I think, was probably my favourite out of the three. Although Cricket is my favourite in Lola and the Boy Next Door, I can really relate to Isla in this book. It's just because she is so awkward and unsure of herself, isn't really confident, and, you know, doubts herself, which then puts a strain on her relationships with people. Isla is mentioned briefly in Anna and the French Kiss, and I really thought that she would be a good character. She basically has had a crush on Josh, who is one of St. Clair's best friends, since their first year, and this book is written during their third year, in which they have to be deciding which college they have to go to, and Josh, in Anna and the French Kiss, has a girlfriend called Rashmi, who break up at the end of the book, but basically he is an amazing artist who has some family issues back home because his dad is a senator. Again, the best bit of this book is that all of the characters from Stephanie Perkins' previous novels are mentioned in this book at the end. It's just... I'm speechless. But yeah, again, a 5 out of 5, definitely worth the read. The fifth book that I read was Me and Earl and the Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews. This book follows the story of a boy, Greg Gaines, and his only best friend, Earl, who like to make films. The dying girl is Rachel, who is diagnosed with leukemia. Greg's mum tells Greg to befriend Rachel and just make her feel comfortable in her sort of last days. Now, Rachel used to have a crush on Greg when they were younger, so it's kind of awkward for Greg to now go back to her house and pretend that everything is okay and they've sort of always been friends, and it's very obvious to Rachel that he's only doing this because she has cancer. When Rachel stops her treatment, Greg and Earl make a film for her, which turns out to be the worst film ever for them. Now, Greg is a person who is always in the sidelines. He's not really part of any stereotypical group at their high school. He's sort of part of all of the groups, in a way. So when he has to make this film, he's put in the spotlight, which he doesn't like. Now, this is a cancer book, so I was expecting it to be quite, you know, the typical serious, sad cancer book, but it was quite a nice surprise because it was very funny. I was laughing throughout most of this book. Greg's humour is just amazing. It's just, yeah, it just made me laugh so much. But I didn't really get attached to any of the characters, and there was a plot, but it just didn't really work for me much. It was still a good book, and I can see why a lot of people loved it a lot, but I'm not sure if I enjoyed it that much. So because of that, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, so the last book that I read this month was My True Love Gave to Me, which is 12 holiday stories written by 12 different authors, some of which include Stephanie Perkins, Gail Forman and Rainbow Rowell. So I was very excited to read this book. I would give this book a 3.5 out of 5, simply because a lot of the stories were just a little too otherworldly, I think, and by the time you got into the book, it was finished. Some of them were genuinely very cute and, you know, very festive, but again, like I said, some of them were just a bit too much for a short story. So that is my July wrap-up done. I hope you like this video. Comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time. Hasta la vista, bookworm! But the most amazing thing about this book is this. Look how beautiful it is.